one of the things that I just got approval for, which I did not think I would ever get approval for, is a skills course at North Fork.
No way.
Lube your chain and pump up those tires. It's time for Aging on Dirt, where we defy expectations one pedal stroke at a time. We age, but we don't have to get old, and we all want to experience the joy of mountain biking as long as possible. Are you starting to ride at an unreasonable age, getting back into it after a long layoff, or just wanting to extend how long you'll be riding? Then you're in the right place. And now, your host, Joel Zieve.
Today, we're going to learn what it takes to create the dirt that we're aging on. No one, in my opinion, is better qualified to teach us this than today's guest, Alan Wheelwright, the Executive Director of Ogden Valley Trails. Alan's also going to be sharing his vision of the future of trails coming to the Ogden Valley, and also get into some really exciting specifics for the improvements that are coming to North Fork Park this season in 2024. If you've ridden on dirt anywhere in the Ogden Valley before, chances are very good that Alan's dedication and passion have had a huge impact on that trail, starting as far back as 2014 with North Fork's Connector Trail and continuing through the recent creation of Spork. We can also thank Alan for helping to bring us the Amazing Groom Winter Fat Bike Trails when North Fork Park transitions in the winter to Ogden Nordic. So let's welcome Alan Wheelwright.
Hello, Joel.
Hello, Alan. Thanks for coming today.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, this is going to be great. You've got so much going on. As I was starting to plan my clinics, coaching clinics for the year, I reached out to you because they're all going to be requiring or a suggested donation to a nonprofit. And I thought, hey, well, where can we give that's going to go toward North Fork? So I asked you, and you said, funny you should ask. So we'll talk about your new organization, Ogden Valley Trails. But we're also going to talk about creating the dirt that we're all aging on. What goes into the trail building process? Does this sound like fun?
Sounds great.
Okay. Because I literally have no clue. I think I volunteered once and decided I'd rather just give money for pizza.
We appreciated that too.
The volunteer or the pizza?
The pizza.
And yeah, I kind of realized that that's just a lot of work.
It's a ton of work.
Oh man, I don't know how you guys do it. So before we jump into it, let's give folks an idea of who you are as far as a mountain biker goes, besides being the fastest over 50-year-old that I know. How long have you been mountain biking?
Actively, probably about 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how old are you?
52.
52. Okay. Tell me where you live and your favorite place and or trail to ride that's, say, within 45 minutes of your house.
It would be my favorite place to ride is North Fork by far, 45 minutes.
Over the last year on your mountain bike, what's your most proud accomplishment?
I was pretty excited with my ability. My son pushes me, who's in his 20s, and he recently went down to Moab, and I was able to clean most everything on Captain Ahab.
Oh, sweet.
Which last time I went down there, there was a few of the features that really frightened.
So walk us through, and this idea actually came from my wife, Ann. She said, looking at these trails that get built, because Ann's only been riding for really not only a year, and she's like, why are those switchbacks there? Why is that rock garden there? Why is that rock garden so skinny? Why is it so big? Why are the rocks so small? Why are the rocks so big? So I'm like, I've got no clue. You should have a guest that will talk about that. I'm like, Alan. So here you are.
Thanks for the
Yeah, you can thank Ann. So So walk us through, I guess, the process of trail building. Let's assume that you've got permission to build.
Okay.
And it's a new trail going in. How do you decide what features are going on it? Why don't we just start with a route?
Well, the first step is to understand what the trail is going to be, who it's going to be used for, and what it's going to be used. So if you're going to have a multi-use trail, it's going to be a very different beast. Trails that are for horses, hikers, and bikers are very different than trails that are just for bikers. You can do different things with grades. You can play around more with the terrain. Horses,
you can play around more if it's bike only
or hike only.
Okay.
Horses need really shallow grades. That's one of the problems you always run into with these older trails is horses act like rototillers. When they go up, their hooves, they go up on the front of their hooves and they just dig into the dirt. And they dig down that dirt and then that dirt washes back down over and over again. So you need very shallow grades and you need very consistent, you need good sight lines on it. And you need wider and taller for horses.
Okay.
So your question was, what goes into the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
So you understand who your target audience is. Are you creating a downhill trail for a bunch of bros? So then if it's just going to be bike only, then you can take the grades a lot higher and you can play a lot more with the terrain.
Okay, so not only the type of user, but if we're talking about biking, I would imagine that the skill level of the user is also going to come into your decision making.
Absolutely. And then also a big thing that people overlook is the soils. Understanding the soils in the area, what's going to work well. Soils in one part of the valley or even on one side of a hill can be a lot different, a lot more clay, a lot more sand, a lot more loam that will affect how much soil will be eroded when water comes down, how many drainages you need.
Okay. So there's a lot of thinking. There's no cookie cutter answer to any of this.
Unfortunately,
everything's kind of like its own unique puzzle that you look at and say, this is what we're going to do based on the ingredients that we have to deal with and who we're building it for.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So looking at, Ann's specific questions about switchbacks, to me, looking at the 7 switchbacks on 365, a lot of people don't understand this that have been riding a while, but for a new rider like Ann or any new rider, those are scary, either going up or coming down. Why are those? Let's talk about those 7 in particular. Why did those switchbacks go in?
Those switchbacks went in to alleviate the grade as you were dropping down to Grandpa's pond, so that the grade wouldn't exceed ever 10%.
Okay. So if you did a straight line, it would be
about 20% grade. Yeah.
Okay.
So by putting in multiple switchbacks, you alleviate the grade as it's coming down.
Okay. So if you wanted to make them less scary for like a beginner type green rider trail, you could potentially do what to those?
By pulling them out, a lot of those switchbacks are called stack switchbacks, so they're one on top of another on that trail. Mm-hmm. Some of the corners have really eroded over the years, and so it scares people because they don't feel the flow as they're coming into it. They don't feel like they can make that corner. If the corner's too sharp, it doesn't lead them into it, or they don't have the proper sight lines to see what's coming up next.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's a big part of it, is you got to be able to see what's coming, so you know how to enter it, so you exit the right way. How about the choice of putting like rock gardens in? I'm thinking specifically there's several on Brim, up on Sidewinder. It was originally built without any rock gardens, and then they were added later.
Right.
What's the deal with those?
Sometimes rock gardens can be put in on Spork. We put some rock gardens in there just for people to have some fun and challenge themselves. Usually rock gardens are put in as a source of armoring the trail. When you get mud, You don't want people generally to ride through the mud, or you want to make the trail open longer in the year. So you armor it with rocks. Brim is a perfect example. Some of those rocks they brought in there, they did a beautiful job.
Mm-hmm.
IMBA built that section, or at least helped design it, and the slabs that they brought in. I mean, it's really, take some time next time. As you're going through the fir trees, take a look at some of those rocks that they moved, and they did beautiful work. So it's basically to armor and protect the trail, where they don't think the dirt is either going to stay wet all year, or the dirt in that area maybe has a high clay content that you can really pick it up and transport it on your bike or on your feet.
Okay. All right. Yeah, and I remember prior to the rock gardens being put in on Sidewinder, they're really acting as bridges, because there's you put them in where there's springs, and before they were there, we had to wait an extra 4 or 5 weeks every spring for those to dry out before we could ride that trail.
Yeah.
And then you put them in, it's like, hoo-hoo, we got an extra month out of this thing.
Those were a lot of work.
You had high school kids volunteer for a lot of that, didn't you?
Yeah. But we did a lot of it just out there, just picking up rocks and moving them and dropping them down. Just hours and hours of ankle-deep mud.
Oh, wow.
It's not fun. Spork is a good example where you'll see some of the drainages that we've armored as you're coming through. So instead of putting a culvert or something like that, you'll see the rocks as you're going around a corner, and that's to allow the water to flow through it freely.
Okay.
And you don't have to put a culvert. It looks a lot more natural. Culverts look unnatural. They look ugly to me.
Great.
And a lot of things like wooden features or plastic have a tendency to degrade over time, where rock will pretty much stay.
Yeah. Stays for a long time, doesn't it? Prior to building Spork, there were, I can only think of one directional trail in all of Weber County, bobsled, or otherwise known as the Rut.
The Rut.
Takes you from the BSD down to Weber State.
Yep.
So I had thought that was pretty much the norm for what Weber County wanted, was multi-use, no directional trails, and then you managed to build Spork that was bike only and directional every other day.
Yeah.
How did that come to be?
Well, I just thank Weber County Parks, and in particular Todd Ferrario, for having the vision to see something like that, how great it could be in the park. Everyone was afraid of the blowback that would happen, but in a way it's been a really great thing for the park, because people who like bicyclists, they just want to go out there and ride that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people go out there and they just do a lap on Spork, and that's good. They're happy, or do 2 laps on Spork, because they know that they can ride fast. They don't have to worry about someone coming around the other corner. I first got introduced to directional trails in Phil's world, in Cortez. And ever since then, I dreamed of having a directional trail system. They are beautiful. You can go out to Spork and you can have 100 people riding the trail, and it will feel like 10.
Right.
If you go out on the connector, you have 100 people and 50 of them are coming at you. It feels like 200.
Exactly.
I really see that as the way of the future when it comes to trails. Designing trails is having specific use trails and having people going the same direction. It really reduces conflict. It really helps people get along better.
Okay. So do you think with this, as his Spork proved successful enough that Weber County is going to be open to allowing more of those?
I sure hope so. I think that's been a testament to the mountain bikers in general, that out there on Spork, one of the big concerns was, well, who's going to police this? Who's going to be in charge of, because we went with the hardest design, which is an odd even day. It's gone over rather well. And I appreciate it that when people are out there and they nicely, if they see someone going the opposite direction, they nicely say, hey, for your safety, today's an even day. You need to go this direction. And 99% of people will say, thank you very much.
Right.
And go the correct direction, because they don't want to get slammed by someone coming around the corner. It's really turned out well, and I think probably appreciated that trail.
Well, and one of the great things is, I can take Ann on there, and it's a relatively kind of blue-green kind of a run. but I can go plan the features, and that just makes it fantastic. And she won't and doesn't need to get anywhere near them.
If anybody ever has the chance to see a trail go from a thought in your head to designing it to completion, there's no feeling like that, because you know that trail is going to be there long after you're dead. And John Pendleton, who's the chair of our board, recently had that a Spork. He saw it all through, and now it gives you a feeling that you've done something bigger than yourself,
right?
And it's really a cool feeling. I mean, even coming out, just helping build the trail and see what goes into it. I think people need to do more.
Okay, cool.
Or donate for pizza.
There you go. Alan, back to thinking about the trail building process, and now I'm thinking about not building new, but repairing, taking care of existing trails.
Okay.
And I see a lot of comments on social media that when you're working on one or when you finish one, and not just you, it's other trail building organizations, the comments are, why'd you pave it? Like everything you touch, it gets paved. So let's talk about that.
Some people don't understand the trail building process. So when we go look at a trail, a few years ago, I was involved in Green Pond. That was a good example.
Mm-hmm.
That trail, so you've got to look back and say, what was that trail originally designed? Is it green? Is it blue? Or is it black? So what do we want that trail? If a trail generally is designed poorly,
and also, as you said, who's it designed?
Who's it designed for?
What kind of trail users?
What kind of trail users?
Because it's not just bikers.
So a lot of times, if a trail is designed poorly, without good water drainage, or has been neglected year after year, Upper Wheeler's Middle Fork was a prime example,
mm-hmm.
where each year this water poured down that trail. It was supposed to be a green trail.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe a blue trail.
Okay.
And then it descended into a black diamond. So I have to ask people, so at what point is it a black diamond trail that you can ride with your ability? So is it this year, or is it 5 years from now after it's degraded this much more?
Mm-hmm.
So when you go in and work on a trail, you say, okay, what was it designed for, and what can we do to put it at that level? If it was designed at a black diamond.
And keep it at that level.
And keep it at that level.
So you're not dumping resources into it every single year or every 3 years or whatever.
If people would stop and take a look at a trail and say, oh, look at all those rocks, that rock garden. There was a section on Green Pond that was that way. Oh, I love that rock garden. Those guys destroyed that rock garden. Well, why is that rock garden there? Oh, the water has been coming down that year after year, and it's been taking away all the topsoil. That topsoil has been going away, and it's just been leaving rocks over and over again. At some point, it becomes a creek bed that about few people can ride,
mm-hmm.
but that's not what the trail was designed for.
Because if that's what you're looking for, you go find a trail that's designed for that and for those users.
Yeah, I mean, Captain Ahab is a perfect example of a black diamond trail. It was designed to be a black diamond trail. It's going to stay a black diamond trail. If there's a ton of rain or something, it's still going to be a black diamond trail because it is a custom-built black diamond trail.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to build some black diamond trails, but you have to then understand, where's the water going to go year after year, and is it going to degrade?
Right. And in my mind, there's always a limited number of dollars and people resources that are going to be available for any given year, 5 years, 10 years.
Yeah.
And if you're going to put work into a trail, I would rather have it be put in once and have it last a long time instead of, oh, no, we're going to have to go and redo this 2 or 3 years later, because that takes away from those resources to go and create new trails. Alan, let's skip gears a little bit here, because I talked about how I originally contacted you for this podcast, and also with the idea of how do I get money to North Fork for trail building for the for the clinics that I'm going to be doing. And you said, me, Eden Valley Trails.
Yep.
I'm like, what is this? So tell us about this organization. Let's start with who's involved.
Eden Valley Trails is a nonprofit that was just started just this year. I've kind of come along the tagline that I want to connect the valley before it's too late. And as we see the development going mad up here, we could have 5 trail building organizations working up here to meet the demand of trails that we're going to need here in the near future.
Okay.
There's so many opportunities that just you need to work on, and then eventually they'll come true. Whether it was Sidewinder or Spork or some of the new things we're doing up at North Fork, we have some really good ideas of some big plans that I want to see within the next 5 years that I think will really change mountain biking here in the valley.
Okay. All right, cool. And we'll get into that. So who's involved with the organization?
We have a board of directors. I'm the executive director. Bryce DePoma is our lead trail builder. You remember him from such things as Spork.
Right.
He's a very gifted Mini-X operator. Let's see, and Justin Lindeen, the famous honey badger, is going to be working on trails with us. Two of the hardest working guys I know.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So give us an idea of your vision of let's talk 20 years down the road for having for what the trail network in the Ogden Valley and Eden Valley with Eden Valley Trails is going to look like.
I would like to see a trail system that you could ride all the way around the valley on dirt and also on pavement all the way around Pineview. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take us. It's going to take TFNU. Maybe another trail organization will pop up to say, hey, let's help and let's make this happen.
Okay.
But the mileage that could be put in, the interconnectivity, we've got Nordic Valley coming on. We've got new owners of Powder Mountain. Snow Basin has always been interested in helping out however they can.
Okay.
A lot of these ski resorts are always interested in doing it, but whether they want to pay for it or not is another question. And so a nonprofit could come in and say, hey, how can we help you put in some cool trails?
Gotcha. So they've got the land and they could say, well, we're not doing anything with it in the summer anyway.
Yep.
Okay. And I would imagine part of your motivation, and we actually talked about this offline, is that right now you've got X number of landowners.
Yep.
In 20 years, you're going to have X times who knows how many landowners, and trying to put this kind of network together with all this kind of interconnectivity in even starting in 5 years with more and more landowners is going to be almost impossible.
So a prime example is any development that's going in. And I live up here. I've lived up here for a long time. When you have someone who's doing a big development and you can contact that one developer and say, hey, can I put in a trail here? They could say yes or no. Sometimes they'll say yes because it adds value to their land.
Mm-hmm.
But once that land, all the houses are sold out, if you have to go contact the HOA and say, hey, can I build a trail here? The answer is inevitably no.
Right. That makes sense. So back to Eden Valley Trails then, what's the difference between Eden Valley Trails and Trails Foundation of Northern Utah or even the Ogden Trail Network?
Ogden Trail Network or Mountain Trails Foundation. I think we're all working for the same thing. I think we all want to build trails. We want to give access to people. TFNU and Eden Valley Trails have a lot of the same things in common. We want to get people outside. We want to get them to enjoy the trails. We are specifically focused here in Ogden Valley.
Okay.
Going back to the days of Ogden Valley Trails, that's 20 some odd years ago.
Hmm.
Initially, that's where Weber Pathway started with.
Oh, cool.
And so I think bringing it back here to the valley, I've lived up here. There's nothing like having an executive director, someone who has a real vested interest in the area, and I do. I know the people up here, they know me, and I think that will help a lot to getting over some of these hurdles that we've had in the past to make some cool connections.
Okay, cool. So let's talk specifics, because we've talked kind of in general for the big picture of all this interconnectivity throughout the valley. What specifically do you have on the plate that that's going to get done this year in 2024?
I'm not going to give it all away. I want people to follow us on social media.
Okay, give us enough.
But I'll give you some of the things that we're first going to tackle. One of the things that I just got approval for, which I did not think I would ever get approval for, is a skills course at North Fork.
No way. How big is this thing going to be?
I mean, it's not going to be a trail side with big wooden features that come all the way down, but it will be something that people can go out and practice their skills, do skinnies, do rollovers. Someone showed me the trail side years ago, and I really liked it. I mean,
What's trail side?
trail side is up at Park City. It's the skills course that they have out there specifically to...
Oh, yeah, trail side. Oh, that's huge. It's not going to be that big, though.
No, well, they have all those wooden features, stuff like that. That's not what we are.
Right.
We're more of, think of progressive drops. Think of rock gardens. Think of just little things to improve your skinnies that you
Okay. That start wider.
that start wider and they get narrower and that don't have big consequences, things like that.
Okay.
So that's what we're shooting for.
Then where's it going to go?
It's going to go over by the course ground.
Oh, okay.
The Trail 365, which you brought up earlier, has degraded into something. I have not honestly talked to one person who said, that's my favorite trail out at North Fork. Everyone's like, I use it to get to Spork, or they just don't like it. I'm with Ogden Nordic. We groom in the winter there, and it's a hard trail to groom because of the way the switchbacks are laid out.
Okay.
So working with Ogden Valley Adaptive and Weber County Parks, we're going to take that trail and we're going to put it back to a solid green. Initially, when I helped put that trail in with the help of Powder Mountain crew, the idea was make a green trail. There was nothing else in the valley at that point, or in Weber County, that was a solid green trail. There was the brim, but the rock features were kind of scary. They're still kind of scary for people.
Well, in the season's so much shorter.
Yeah, the season's so to make a solid green trail, you had Snow Basin, which those trails aren't green.
No way.
So to design and build a solid green trail that families could go out and ride.
Well, when that was first built, my first comment when I came home after I wrote it to Ann was, it's like a mini brim.
Yeah.
It was super fun and flowy and half the distance.
Yeah. And that was the goal.
To make it green. And now and clearly, if anybody that's ridden it over the last couple of years, it's not green anymore.
It's not. The water's come down some of those, and it's really created, again, it's the water, nature itself has created a different trail, and people don't like it. I see people out there with their 8-year-old daughters or sons or whatever, and that's their first time riding. That's going to turn them off mountain biking, is coming down the rocks by Grandpa's Pond, potentially crashing. So that's our number one goal, is to redesign some of the switchbacks on that and make it fun.
Mm-hmm.
Put some flow in it, widen it out. And one of our big things is to make it adaptive friendly. There's for the adaptive community, there's not a lot of trails that are specifically for them, that you can go out there on an adaptive bike and know that you can ride it without someone helping you. Brad Parks, who's on our board, is on adaptive bike.
Okay.
He's going to help us to design that, to make it, put up the signage so that an adaptive rider can come out there and feel good about going out there by themselves, not having to drag their spouse or whomever out there, and ride the whole trail. And ideally, we'd like to groom it in the winter and groom it wider so that adaptive fat bike riders could get out there.
Oh, that would be so cool.
It would be, yeah. So that's our number one goal. We're going to be doing some reroutes on some other trails, and there might be some other.
Nothing else you're going to tell us?
Nothing else.
Not even the, the.
Nope, not mandatory. Yeah. Follow us on social media for more.
Okay. Not even going to mention miles of new?
We'll have to see.
Okay. All right. Well, I will tell you that when Alan did spill a little bit more beans to me, I literally the hair on the back of my neck stood up. So what he's got in mind for Norfolk, if you thought Spork was amazing when it went in, you're going to be thrilled with what's going to happen out there this year. I'll just leave it at that. Or he's going to smack me across the table here. Allegedly, right? Okay, so that's so we talked big picture. We talked what you've got going on for this year. Anything else for this year outside of Norfolk?
No,
that you can share?
We really just want to get our feet up underneath us as a new nonprofit, see what we can do, show people that we are serious. That's what we do. We build trails that you can ride for free.
Okay.
That's what we want to do. We want to just put in mileage, and I want to have people come out and say, who built this trail, and how can I help them build more trails like this?
Got it. And where do we find more information about the organization and how to donate if we want to?
Facebook, Instagram, and also EdenValleyTrails.com.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate you doing this, and I hope people listen to this and can enjoy what it takes to build trails and give to trail building organizations that will make their area a better place, because trails just don't appear. They take an enormous amount of work to maintain and to build.
Great. Well, thanks for doing that.
Thanks, Joel.
Thank you.
Well, that's another lap around the bike park for Aging on Dirt. I hope you've learned something and or found this entertaining. Most importantly, go out and apply what you've learned so you can experience more joy on your bike. Remember, Joel wants your input. What topics and or guests do you want to hear? Reach out to him where you're listening to the podcast, on Facebook, or find his email/phone on his coaching website, jzmtb.com. Until next time, have fun and be safe out there.